So I think both of us are just going to spend a second sharing these lives to other places. But if you're watching
Yes.
this part of the live, that means you're more than likely on the replay, because you probably aren't on here live with us just yet. If you are watching the replay, please give us a hashtag replay so that we know that you joined us on this live. And if you are coming on here live with us already, give us some little love hearts and some likes and let us know that you are in the space with us, so that we can interact with you. I've got one more place to share this, and then I'm going to introduce my epic, amazing guest that I'm very excited about. Look at that. There we go. Shared in all the places.
Oh, you're quicker than me. You're much quicker than me. Wow. Okay, I'm just going to share and just wing it.
Just share. I didn't like put any information. I just
shared.
I just shared it to the
I
world.
love it.
I know.
So good.
So Facebook world, this is Brigitte Bennery, and I are about to have an epic conversation about awakening the feminine after 50, and what was it? Rebirthing the inner child. Oh my God, I lost you.
Nurturing the inner child as the woman at 50 rebirths.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to have this conversation with you. And I also kind of want to share to the world, Brigitte is a mentor for the Temple of Armella coming up. And I am so excited to have you. As you already know, I keep on telling you over and over, I'm so excited to have you coming into this work, because you bring a different transmission, a different stage of life, an amazing energy to the space. So I am super excited to have you joining us for the Temple of Armella. And I'm going to start with kind of what I started to say before we got on the call, which is I'm having a little hot flush, everybody. Yes, I'm at that age where I'm noticing my skin's a little pink and the room's a little hot, even though my air conditioning is on. I've got my own little fire happening in here. So yes, I am definitely in my perimenopause stage. And I would love if you can tell everyone what you just told me before around what you think your hot flushes are. I love it.
Okay, I'd love to. Hi, everyone. So I have a little theory around what everybody calls hot flushes. I call them surges of wisdom. And I always ask myself, so what is my body trying to share? What is my body trying to tell me? And what is my soul trying to deliver down to me? What message am I meant to be noticing, seeing, feeling when I get those incredible, like, whoo, turn down the fire.
Oh my God.
This is like just too much.
I love that so much. I'm definitely getting a very strong hit of wisdom coming through right now. So it's perfect timing to be having this chat with you. Oh my gosh. Which is interesting. I know you haven't seen it yet, but I chatted with Isadora this morning. And we talked a little bit actually around like what happens to women when they come into their menopause phase and when they kind of hit their crone years, and what has been fed to us by, I guess, external media is that there is a shutdown that happens. But really what I perceive and what I want to speak to you about is the opposite, right? Is the feminine coming in. So I'm wondering if you would be open to sharing a little bit of your own personal journey around what's been happening for you at 50 and the feminine reawakening.
Yeah. It would actually be my honor, because it is very personal, but I also feel like the more women I speak to, the more I hear a theme of my story. It's not necessarily my story, but it's a theme in a lot of women's story. And what I hear is from my own story, and then I hear from other women, is that I guess what happened for me was it came to a point in my life where everything that I had been ignoring for so long hit me in the face and hit me in the body physically. And on the outside, I have shared this story before. On the outside, nobody knew what was going on, because I had been so used to accommodating for other for so long that I had forgotten what that felt like to take care of me.
Yeah.
And so I could no longer say no. I could no longer say yes to myself. And it was a very frightening experience, because when I said yes to myself in the hugest of ways, everything started to unfold. And it was like there was no longer could I ignore the no to myself. As scary and as really huge as it was, there was just no way I could say no to myself anymore. And so many women I speak to find that. They find that place where they can no longer say no to themselves. But the climb out of the no is huge. Yeah, it's really big.
I enjoy the way you're framing that of the no and the yes, because I feel like it's another area that for women we can be not put in the brightest of light going through that phase and going through that transition and that shift that really happens, because people are now seeing you as different because you are coming across different. So it's not very comfortable for anyone else in your world. To women who are perhaps starting to come to that phase, like I'm seeing it starting to happen in me as well. Like it's just starting to happen. To women who are coming there, like what would you say to them to be able to support them through that process?
Such a great question. Such a great question. I feel like every woman's journey is unique. Every woman has their own little piece. I would begin by probably doing one small thing for yourself every day. It can be just the tiniest little thing. It could be just taking 5 minutes to sit on the couch and read a book. It could be 5 minutes to be in the garden. It could be half an hour to sit in a bath, if that's your thing. If you're the kind of woman that has neglected yourself for a very long time, finding 5 minutes can be excruciating. So even if it's just take your shoes off for a minute and put your feet on the grass on your lawn or in the park, just to do that alone can be huge for some women. Yeah. So I guess for me, how I started was that I actually started by going to a yoga class. That was my very first thing I did for myself. Well, my very first thing was the no. That was my first thing, the no. But my friend rang me and she said to me, I really want you to come to a yoga class with me. And I said to her, I don't know. She goes, no, I really want you to come to a yoga class with me. And I'm so grateful. She's one of my soul sisters, and I'm so grateful to her because I still practice yoga today, and my mat has saved my life in so many different ways. That practice alone has saved so many moments in my journey to here. So, yeah. Also, even just to light a candle, Zephyria, to light a candle to yourself, just to honor yourself, to turn on one of the little battery operated tea lights. You know, when you wake up in the morning or you go to sleep and you turn that tea light on in honor of yourself, just something to honor you, who you are. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a really beautiful, potent one, and it's simple. It's like doesn't even take a few minutes, just takes a few seconds, but just taking that moment and that breath. For you, with the feminine basically reawakening, what does that feel like? Like I feel like this is, there's a different initiation for the feminine at different ages. Like I really feel we go through our maiden, and that is one part of the feminine awakening. And then we go through our mother of whatever birthing phase, whether we're having children or we're birthing projects. And And again, it's a different aspect of the feminine begins to awaken. And then obviously when we come to 50 or to menopause or to crone, then again, it's a different aspect of the feminine. So I'm intrigued, what is this aspect of the feminine feeling like for you?
Such a great question.
I'm
I
full
love
of
it.
them.
It's so juicy. I love it.
I'm asking the questions that I want to know, by the way. So
yeah,
I'm just like,
right.
I'm only a couple of years behind you, like I know a few years behind. I'm like asking everything I need to know. Yeah.
I'm so happy to share this, and I'm so grateful to be asked the question. So what does it feel like? It feels like I'm living more in my body. Even though I still have those moments of heat in my body, I do genuinely believe I am receiving some kind of message from my body and from my guides, from the powers that be, whatever you want to call it, anybody, any woman wants to call it. But I feel like there's, every time that happens, there's somebody tapping me on the shoulder going, I need you to notice. I need you to notice. And so I feel like the more awareness I have of that, the more I get to stand in myself. And it's the taps on the shoulder that get louder. The more I head towards 50, and the more I go over 50, the more those taps are there, and I go, oh, okay, I got you. Right. I can hear you. And it is about the listening. It's about having more of an acute awareness of what my limitations are, what my boundaries are. Boundaries, huge. Boundaries is huge. Yeah, that's a big one for me. That was a big one for me, and it still is a big one for me. I still have to listen to my taps on the shoulders like, okay, Brigitte, it's enough. You're at your limit. And interestingly enough, it's from that question. Now come back to that, where it's like where my boundaries were here, like ridiculous, my boundaries are here. Now I've learned how to say no, not all the time. I don't get it always right, but my boundaries are really like, I have such an acute awareness where my boundaries are now. And when they're getting blurry, I get that tap.
Epic. I love that. I do, because what you're explaining to me is exactly what I feel is the maturing that comes of the feminine. Like it's exactly what my envisioning has been, because it used to be that when women came into menopause and when women came into their crone, that is actually when everybody would come to them for their wisdom. And I feel like that's exactly that. Is it's like I'm wanting the wisdom from the woman who's getting the tap on the shoulder, who is tuned into that and is going to be able to support me when I'm at a different, if I'm, I don't know, in my 20s and 30s and just like not hearing that, my energy is in such a different space. I want to go to the woman who's able to say, no, dear, it's this. Let me impart this piece of wisdom to you. So even you explaining that the boundaries are coming in, your no is coming stronger, and you're feeling this, to me, that's precisely the wisdom piece. That's the piece that that's the piece that I've always perceived that we get to receive from the crone when she's in her magic. Oh my God. Like that's the wisdom. That's the wisdom. So yeah, you literally just explained in a felt sense what I've envisioned.
Yeah.
I love
and
that.
it's tricky. It's so tricky, Zafira. It's really, and it's still tricky some days. It really is. If I'm really honestly, like brutally honest, it's tricky, because if most women are caretakers, and when we're caretakers, and this is for myself as well, I am that caretaker. I am the person somebody would say, I need help, and I would be there as much as I possibly could. And in learning not to say, look, I actually can't do that today. That some days that's so tricky for me to say no. Like it's hard. But I know the more I say no to myself, I'm such a better person to give. Like I'm here to give, and I can give in my whole heart, in my whole body, in my whole full soul, because I've given to myself and I've drunk from the waters. It's like you get on an aeroplane and they tell you, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. And there's a reason for that. It's kind of so symbolic, you know, like when they say that, I'm like, wow, okay, that is super symbolic.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important thing for all women at all levels. It's like mask first, then you can care for everybody else. So
Yeah.
I am wondering, like, for you, you know, you're in this initiation phase, like it's, you know, not kind of fully through it, but you're in it, like you're in this space. What has been for you the most challenging piece?
Oh,
I'm asking all the curly questions.
yeah, great. I love them. I so love them. I have to breathe for a second to go, what are the most curly pieces? I think space is a really tricky one, giving myself the most space I need. Also, gosh, if I come back to the taps on the shoulders, and I come back to that piece about putting the oxygen mask on myself first and then to the child, I feel like that's been a really big piece for me. If women out there identify with their inner child, that's been a huge piece for me. I feel like when I'm hearing the screaming, or I'm getting really agitated and angry and really like toey, I'm like, okay, this little person that I'm meant to be taking care of, I'm not taking care of her. And that's the one that is screaming the loudest. And she's the one that actually has screamed the loudest before I headed into 50. So it's like I never really nurtured myself enough, and my little girl came screaming. And the inner child is just the one that screams the loudest when we turn 50, and that's my experience. Perhaps some women wouldn't necessarily articulate it that way. That's my experience. Yeah.
I mean, I've been witnessing you in that, and it's powerful. Like I'm so open to you sharing as much of this piece and of this story as you're willing to share, because as I've been witnessing this inner child piece awakening in you, it's intriguing me, it's fascinating me, it's giving me actually a new piece as well of understanding what it is that women are experiencing. And when you call this kind of the rebirthing, so I'm all enthused in hearing everything about the inner child experience. I mean, give it all to me.
Yeah, okay. I'm like, where is she? She's here somewhere. I don't know. I'm like, oh, there she is. I have to bring her on, right?
Yes.
Is it okay if I do this?
Yes. So, okay.
Okay, so this is my experience. My experience is that our parents, our mums, do the best that they can in whatever they have. And our mothers are our role models. And whether they're aware of it or not, they are our role models. And I believe that our mothers do the best that they can possibly do with whatever they have. And good, bad, whatever it is what they have. And we can't change that. And I have such great admiration for my mum. And because I believe she did everything she could do with what she had, in all the tools and all her wisdom, everything that she brought to parenting me was everything. And I know that she loved me and cared for me.
Yeah.
But sometimes when we're in difficult places as mothers, we can't see everything and we can't be everything. And I know that for myself as mother. It's just, there's so much going on in our heads, in our hearts, in our bodies, in our hormones. Everything's just going on all at once. And so what I believe happens is that all those things that don't get met when we're little people start to show up in our lives at different times. When we're 27 to 30, when we're 21, all those different age groups, those poignant times astrologically, those poignant times when we're heading into motherhood, when we're heading into crone, all those very poignant times in our lives, things show up that we need to look at or that are unresolved. And so for me, when I turned 50, the most, this is when she showed up the most. She was like, I'm here. I need you to take me with you wherever you're going now, because I don't feel safe. Right? So this is my little girl, right? This is my representation of my little girl. And she comes with me wherever I go, well, mostly. And if she's not with me, she's a little heart in my chest or something. But what I believe is that we come to an age where everything starts to merge together in our lives. And I feel like that's what's happening when we turn 50. All the pieces of us come together and they want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be met in the most authentic way. And that's what I feel. So when she shows up, when I'm saying she taps me on the shoulder, it's like the tap on the shoulder is me getting really agitated. It's me getting gnarly. It's me getting impatient. It's me getting like going, well, what is going on here? I can't manage this. And then I know that I'm not taking care of myself. And I feel like that's what really shows up a lot.
So I'm so in the receiving of what you're sharing, because I feel like possibly the words that you are putting to your experience will really, and I'm interested for, I'm not watching the comments right now, but I will go back and watch the comments, as I'm interested for other women as well who are in this kind of same age gap, is like, is this putting words to an experience that you're having? Because I feel like you're putting words to something. And when I look back, you know, my only reference really, I guess, is to look back to my mum, because I'm kind of heading in, but it's new for me. And when I look back to my mum and I think, what you're just sharing, if I had have understood that that was possibly part of the experience that she was having, I think I would have been very different around her. And actually what you're saying is putting words probably to a lot of the things that she was even saying back then that I just thought was weird to come out of the mouth of a 50-year-old woman. I was really a bit like, but you're the mother and you're the adult and you're the 50-year-old woman here. Why am I getting this energy of, I could feel her inner child? Like now I'm like, oh my God, that's what I was feeling. Like I almost want to cry at this, like, oh, if I knew that, I feel like I would have been more understanding.
And it's very hard because we can't know that. Like we can't know as children that's what's happening. And I do share with my kids. I say I'm actually just doing the best that I can. I'm not always going to get it right, and I'll be the first to admit that. And like if it's not okay, you need to share that with me, because then we can be in discussion. We can talk about that, and I'm grateful for that. You know, I'm grateful. And I think one of the other things that I've noticed is that because I'm more in relationship with her and more in this place of noticing her, I can be more playful in myself. Like, this is a place that's starting to grow more, and I'm really noticing that. And there's just a lightness, and there's an ease, and there's just more breath, and there's more of everything. And I'm so grateful, for that. And being able to transition into that has just been incredible.
What was the moment, like, how did you realize that it was your inner child that is coming into this space to really share with you?
I think it's been, that's such a great question. I have to think. I think it was quite a long time ago that I knew that she needed more than what I was giving her. And it probably happened probably 6 years ago, like in the most, probably longer ago, but I didn't notice. Like, I knew, but I didn't notice. I wasn't in that place where I could go, I can actually do something about this, or I can actually feel her. And but she's definitely become more alive, more engaged in what I'm doing since doing the womb spiral, without a question. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And she's more playful, and I feel that playfulness in me. Definitely. Definitely. I can feel it in my laughter. I can feel it in my sense of humor. I can feel it when I'm in conversation with people. I feel it in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah, I feel it in you. It's like every time we get on a call, I'm like light and bubbly.
Let's
and
play.
jovial, and like, my little girl gets so excited to play with your little girl. Happening. And it, as you were speaking, then it's like actually a really big piece. Like when you kind of spoke about how long ago it started to come in, this big piece just landed for me. Yeah, it's super personal, but anyway, I feel like I'm going to share it. So I had been estranged from my biological dad for a long time, like kind of 25 years or something. And in the last couple of years, I've been feeling this really, really strong pull to find him. And only in the last 2 months, I've actually found him and reached out and gotten back in touch. And we were on the phone today. I had a big hour-long conversation today. And what it feels like is happening, I'm like, oh, that's exactly what's happening, is my little girl wants to heal the relationship with her daddy. She's like, but and the conversations that I had with him today were very open and honest, and asking questions and sharing my experience, and I can feel this depth of healing happening with my inner child. And I'm like, oh, that's what's happening, is my little girl is like, we've got some things that you haven't been looking at, and we need to now start working on all those things and heal these pieces. And I just had not even realized. So you sharing that has really just popped a massive, like, it's kind of obvious when I say it out loud. I'm like, well, yeah. What else did I think I was doing?
Yeah.
But we don't see it, right? And this is what I love about you sharing this perspective, is like, I'm sure I'm not the only one that is having pieces that's going, oh, that's what that is. That's my little
Yeah,
girl.
no, I have this really acute awareness right now that there are women out there that actually have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I really hope that what I've shared has shed a little bit of light for somebody. Yeah. Because it took me a long time to understand that agitation and that irritation that I would have in my body at things. And I was like, what am I getting so angry about? Like, frustrated. And it wasn't until I was aware that actually there was a part of me that was longing to be seen, the longing to be taken care of. And you can call it the inner child, we can call it anything. It's actually not about the name. It's just about these parts of ourselves that that just are so unseen and so unheard and have had no voice for so long, that they're coming out in this anger and frustration and just all this stuff that just doesn't know where to go or what to do with itself. And so just lighting the candle or stepping on the grass or whatever it is that just lights a little bit of our soul is just so healing. And I guess for some women it could come really quickly, the healing, and for other women it just takes time. But I hope that what I've shared has kind of shed a little bit of light on something, because as a mother, sometimes you just do stuff and it's like, oh, did I really do that? Like, no, did I really do that? But I did. And it's in the acknowledgement of that I did, something wakes up, you know, something taking ownership of those things that happen. And it's like, okay, I did that. Why did I do that? Oh, okay, I'm actually really feeling frustrated and I don't know what to do with that. And so yeah, I feel like I'm talking to the mummies now.
Yeah, like you're talking to the mummies as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh
Yeah, I have so much compassion. I really do. I just like such a big piece. Yeah.
Actually, I have a question around that, like, because you know that there's quite a lot of mothers in my field and a lot of quite new mothers, like, you know, children, these high vibrational children that are coming through. There's a lot of the mothers in my field, and
Yeah.
definitely a lot of them are struggling, and a lot of them are questioning their choices and how they're parenting, you know, all the different things that that is quite normal. But I wonder, like, as you've come further through that experience and now can look back on it, like, look at it, no, you know, you're obviously still a mother, but your children are a different age. You made it through all those childhood years of thinking, oh my God, am I doing this right?
Yeah.
If you could give yourself, like when you were first becoming a mother, if you could give yourself, like, impart a piece of wisdom or tell yourself something back then, what would that be? Like, what would you want yourself to know back then?
Such a good question.
I'm like
I would tell
getting you with all the good ones today.
I love it. I just love it because it just reminds me of my experiences. And what would I tell myself? I would say to myself, what would I say to myself? I would say you are enough. I would say that you deserve to ask for what you need. I would say to ask for help when you need it. Yeah. And I would say that you only know what you know, and that's enough. Whatever you know is enough. And I would say that you are you, and all the other mothers are the other mothers, and you're the best mother that you can be because you're you. And I truly believe that our babies, our souls choose us, and they choose us for a reason. And so whatever the reason is, or whatever the lesson is that my children came into me, I say to myself, that's such a gift, and I'm so grateful for the teachings that my children have given me. So grateful. They're my greatest teachers, my greatest mirrors. And take time. Like, it just, I have a 22-year-old and a 19-year-old, and I feel like I was a mother yesterday, and I can reflect and just go, wow, that was epic. That was epic. Did I really do that? Yeah. And I would say to them, don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about yesterday. Just be in the moment of what you have. And everything else, if as a mother, I knew that then, my experience certainly would have been very different. But hindsight is hindsight. And so my journey was my journey, and I learned all the lessons I learned, and I'm still learning. My kids are older, and I'm still learning from them all the time.
Yeah, I imagine.
Mm.
Wow. Thank you. I feel like there was some mothers who needed to hear that piece, and who would have really received that piece. Just, knowing the ones that I've been speaking to even this week. Like, I feel I probably tag them to listen to that piece later. Like, listen to this. And what is it? I think
I just wanted to add, I feel like what I've just shared is relevant to me now. It's relevant to me in my life right now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to rewatch this video, and I'm going to listen to those words again for myself, because I feel like they're just so important.
And this is a question that I don't even know if it's answerable or explainable, but as a woman who has not been blessed with children, I'm intrigued as they, like, obviously I witnessed so many mothers in the early years being like wanting to pull their hair out, going, oh my God, like, am I messing them up? This is crazy. All the stuff that happens. But I imagine that as they get to a certain age, as they start to become adults, that there would be a part of you that is able to look and go, whoa, like, how, like, they turned out great. I did amazing. I'm proud of myself. Like, I'm intrigued. How does that feel now, to look at your children who are young adults and adults, to be able to look to them and be like, they are who they are today because of how you parented them?
How does that feel?
So I'm like, I don't even know if this is an answerable question.
Yeah, it's a great question. I just feel so grateful that I have 2 children that are healthy. I feel really grateful, as I said earlier, for everything that they've taught me. I'm trying to remember the question you asked me now, because I feel like I'm floating in my motherhood, in my womb, going, oh, I'm in the womb and I'm having such a lovely time.
It's because I asked you, how does it feel? So you went straight into the feeling.
I just go.
Words. It feels like womb. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it's like, and I think the other thing too is that my kids are not old, they're 19 and 22, but they're still my babies. They're still my children. And it's like it's like I still look at them and I go, oh, I'm in awe of who they are, of what they've become, of how they think, all the stuff that they do, the good, the bad, the ugly, the fabulous. It's like all those pieces that it's like when they're living their life, I'm learning as well. And I guess that's a little bit of the piece that I was sharing earlier. It's just like, I'm so grateful for that, because what they bring into my life and what they bring into my family is so rich. It's actually what you're sharing. It's not really tangible. It's like this thing that you just witness, and it's like, God, wow, this is just, it's incredible.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I know I'm going like so completely off topic now, but I'm just following the energy of where it's taking us, because I also then want to touch on, I know that you're working with women also in a really challenging area around loss, and I feel like, I can feel it. I can kind of feel it in my body for the women who hear the beauty of motherhood. There's also the other side of that, of those that have either not had that opportunity, but those who have come close to having that opportunity and lost it for different reasons. There are different reasons that might happen. I know that's one aspect of what you're working with, as well as those who have lost their womb. But I feel like kind of touching a little bit on that loss for those who have had loss. I don't even know what the question is that's coming. I can just feel this energy that's taking me this way into such a sensitive, what I feel is that it's a topic that people don't talk about. It's a topic that women keep to themselves. And I genuinely feel and believe if it's something we're able to talk about more, that it will provide so much support on all levels, whether that be a loss of a child or whether that be a loss of a womb. It is something we don't talk about, and it fascinates me. I mean, I've found out years later that friends have had their womb removed and I didn't even know. They didn't talk about it, or have had abortions, or have had miscarriages and never said a word. I've been there myself. I've had a miscarriage sitting in a restaurant with friends and I didn't tell them. Like, I told my partner what was happening and we left, but I didn't tell anyone else because there's this like stigma. And I feel like if we can just talk about it a little, maybe it will support someone in their journey. So I don't even know what my question is. Like, do you have some wisdom to impart?
Okay, so I really feel like it's this thing that's unspoken, like you've shared, and it's actually something that I'm kind of working on right now in terms of speaking more about it. And it's like this, I feel like it's a piece about how women have lost their voice. I feel like it's a piece that is attached to shame. And I feel like that women don't talk about it because there's something attached to it around shame and around guilt, that they weren't good enough, or their body wasn't good enough, or so many other things. And I feel like it's something that really needs to be awakened again. Our bodies are given to us and we have these things that happen to us, and sometimes we don't have control over that. And I think that's the part that is the most challenging for women. And I know for myself, I've experienced those things. I didn't have I didn't have any control over that. And then we're left with this thing that's kind of sitting here and nobody talks about it. And we need to talk about it. It's like we don't live in biblical times where women gather together in a tent and they mourn together and they feed together and they bleed together and they, you know, move through the different aspects of their feminine life together. We don't live in that world anymore. And so we're separate. And because we don't live in community, nobody knows what's going on with anybody. And that's devastating. That feels devastating for me. I remember going through my own personal experience, and I just, I didn't know what to do. Like, it was just, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do, who to talk to about it, because nobody spoke to me about it. So it's like we've moved into this culture where we don't share these things. And so I also want to bring this to life. I also want to talk about this. I want to be able to have a place where people can talk about it. And what I would share with women about their experience is to share, to speak to their friends, to not hold it on their own, because we even though we live in a family unit or a partner or wherever you live, we need to share with other women. We need to have confidence. We need to have that sense of community around us so that we can actually ask for support. And I know for myself, when I experienced my own miscarriage, my hormones were all over the shop. I didn't know what was going on. It was just like, I don't think anybody ever spoke to me about what a miscarriage was. Like, nobody told me what happened. I didn't know. And so even though I had sisters around me, I had family around me, it was like there was just nowhere to go with it, nowhere. So I can only encourage women when they're, you know, if you're out there and this is something that's happening to you, I just ask you to speak to somebody. Speak to somebody about it so you have somewhere that will hold you in your experience. And if it's not a soul sister, find somebody that will hold you. There is support out there. I know there is. It's just asking is so hard sometimes. Yeah. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it did. Well, I genuinely believe that if we started to speak more openly and share about it, the number of women that would also say, I've also had the same experience, but wasn't able to share about it. Like, we think that we're alone in it. And any time that I have spoken about my miscarriage, and also, you know, I've had an abortion when I was really young, and it was just this very intense decision that I made in my life. And I didn't talk about it until a year ago. Like, I kept it completely secret from the whole world until about a year ago, like even from the people close to me, because I was so ashamed of that. But as soon as I spoke about it, I cannot tell you how many women either messaged me privately or commented. It was actually in one of my groups, and said, "Oh my God, me too." And I've also never spoken about it. And same with like when I had a miscarriage as well. Like, when I finally talked about it, the number of women that have said, "I've also experienced that," has blown my mind.
Yeah.
We're all suffering in silence through this shame of thinking that it's just us because nobody else talks about it, and so therefore it mustn't be happening to anybody else. It's like, if you talk about it, then you're giving someone else permission to be able to talk about it, and then someone else will hear it, and when it happens to them, they'll go, "Oh, I'm not alone. There's no shame. It happened. It's horrible, but it happened." So I love that piece of, like, talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. It's such a gift.
And I know there are women out there that are lonely, that don't have anybody to speak to. They just don't. And you know, it's challenging. And I think the most important thing is, once we start to speak, there's something that is healing about that. Like, once we voice something to somebody, it's that the healing has already begun, because there's an acknowledgement of what has actually happened to us. And it's in the witnessing of our experiences that we really gain the most healing. And it's the most potent space that we can ever offer ourselves, is to speak, just to voice.
Yeah, I so agree with you. It's so interesting, you know, it's one of my drivers for creating Womb Spiral. Because obviously, you know, I had my own experiences and I didn't know how to heal from them. And you know, they always say we teach the thing that we need the most, right? Like, that's what happens in our life. And that was how one of the motivators behind Womb Spiral was, like, the very first time I started to heal around what had happened to me was when I was doing my shamanic womb apprenticeship. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is coming. This is something I've shoved down for all these years, and it's coming up. And it was like, okay, so I dove deeper and I dove deeper and I dove deeper. And that's really how Womb Spiral was born, was just diving into this, my own trauma and my own loss and my own lack of feeling in my womb, and all the pieces that had come from that loss is really the catalyst for creating Womb Spiral, and being able to now support other women through different aspects of their their loss, whether it literally be a loss of a child or a loss of their womb or a loss of just self. Like,
Yeah.
I got lost in the fact that I was a mother and a wife and a sister and a worker but where am I in all of that? Like, whether it's that loss,
Yeah.
just witnessing women come into healing space of all those places of loss has been the most profound and rewarding journey over the last few years.
Yeah.
And I'm so deeply honored. It's one of the reasons that I feel such a deep honor that you've stepped into this work, is that I know what you have experienced in your life and some of the loss that you have experienced in your life, and what that now brings in the transmission that you are able to hold for women coming into this work in a different way than anybody else, and even in a different way than what I can hold with this work. It's a beautiful transmission that you're bringing. So I'm so honored that you are traveling this wild journey with me, being a womb spiral practitioner and now stepping into the temple of Armella as a mentor.
Amazing.
Anyone who's been listening to this, Brigitte and I are likely to have more conversations, by the way. But anyone who has been listening to this, who is really feeling anything that's come up for you throughout this whole conversation, please, you can comment on our post, or you can absolutely reach out privately to, and I know Brigitte well enough to say that I can say to both of us, if there's something that you feel that this has brought up for you that you want to be witnessed in, or that you want to be able to share, please do private message either of us and reach out. If you're feeling the call to womb spiral, again, you could reach out to either of us. We're both obviously doing that work. And if you're feeling the call to, I guess, just sharing this energy in this space that we're sharing together, the Temple of Armella is launched. She is birthed. We're I guess applications are open. I don't even know how to word it. She's out in the world. The temple is born, basically. And it's the most powerful offering of, there's myself and Jamie Miranda co-facilitating, there's Brigitte and 2 other amazing mentors holding the space. So there's actually 5 of us holding the space of this program, which allows you to go deep into anything and everything. Someone asked me today, but who specifically is it for? And I'm like, well, this is very hard for me to answer you, because I mean, I guess it's for anyone who was born as a woman, and at the moment that's probably the only limitation. We are diving very deep, and I'm having some amazing conversations, I have to say, with some people on giving me guidance to also open this up way beyond that, to those who are gender fluid and who are trans feminine. I literally am in that bubble right now of doing the work to make this a very safe container to be able to open up as well. So I really do want to speak to that. And as you already know, to men as well, like, the work is happening to build this to be for everybody. But at this point in time, like, if you were born as a female, born as a woman, this space is very much for you. And that's the only limitation. There's no other limitation. You could be at any age, you could be any experience, you could be wanting anything. If you're feeling the call, please do reach out. I'll also put the link in the comments. I think you could reach out to either of us about that as well. But it's a beautiful deep dive, 6-month intensive journeying into the womb gates and really diving into, I just can't even, the magic of the womb gates. Do you have words for that?
Just everything.
Yeah, I guess, as just a final thing as we wrap, like, because you've really kind of freshly gone through that apprenticeship with me, what have you noticed? And this is probably a really big question that I'm trying to wrap us with, but what have you noticed has changed?
Wow. What have I noticed that's changed? I think there's a lot of things that I've spoken about that have been amplified even more. So a lot of things that I've shared already. I think being able to speak up for myself in a way, there's a clarity and there's also a sense of peace in the way that I am sharing, the way that I speak. there is a greater sense of noticing, of awareness, sensitivity to what I'm experiencing and then what other people are experiencing around me. I have a greater sense of what I need for myself so that I can be more available for the women I want to support. And I think there's a deeper knowing and there's a deeper sense of love, not only for myself, but also there's a deeper love and understanding within my relationship, within my marriage to David. And I feel like that's growing and really starting to, everything just is opening up more. It's like this opening. It really is. It's kind of like a lotus. It's like it just starts to open and open and open and open, and then, you know, if I reverse that down the other way, you know, I'd be like, there's the womb, you know. I can't do it upside down, but you know, it's kind of like that, you know. It is like the womb. It's like when the cervix starts to open and all the work, all the hard work is done, you know, as we emerge through the womb spiral, as we emerge out and birth from the womb, there's something really different that emerges. And it's like I'm the same person, but I'm not. I feel like I'm more in myself, and I feel like I'm at 53. Yeah, 53. I could probably say I'm the most of who I am than I've ever been in my life. So,
oof.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I've loved having this time chatting with you. I could just keep on talking like this for hours, but I will honor and acknowledge time for people.
We'll have to do it again, Cytherea.
Definitely.
And you know, she always comes for the party, so
she does. Oh my God, she's so cute.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see you in person one day, to hug you and to hug her. We're just, you know. I mean,
definitely.
Thank you to everyone who has watched this as well, and thank you so much, Brigitte, for your wisdom and for your time and for sharing so openly into this space. I really want to say to anyone who's watching as well, you know, that you are so much more than what you have even realized. You are so much greater than you are giving yourself credit for. You are so much more magic than what you are even seeing in yourself. Other people are seeing it, but maybe you're not seeing it. And so I really want to say, like, you are amazing, and whatever you're doing in the world, it's time to choose you. And maybe that path of choosing you is to come and join us in this. Maybe it's to do something completely different. That's beside the point. What's really important is it's now time to make the choice to choose you and to be fully in your greatness.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So thank you so much, Facebook world. Thank you, Brigitte. I'm going to take us off live now. So bye-bye to everybody. We'll see you again.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.